Good afternoon, everyone. You just saw me accidentally click off the video way too soon, so hopefully you enjoyed that intro. Welcome back to another Team News live stream for Game Week 10. We're going to go through all the latest injury news, lineup news, press conferences, and what's been said by various managers for all the clubs now. And as always, I'm joined by Neale. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Andy. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. I'm feeling confident after a poor week last week. There's not been too many major issues. I've made an early transfer. I haven't been punished with that from the press conferences just yet. So, yeah, feeling good. But there's a lot to get through. There's quite a bit of injury news again, like last week. Apart from, luckily, I'm glad none of it affects me this time. Whereas last week it was a little bit different. So we'll jump straight into it. We'll start with Everton. So just after last week saying that they pretty much had everyone back from injury and suspension, they've gone and got themselves another big injury. So what's the latest on Digne?
Yeah, he's out for, it looks like 2 to 3 months, according to Ancelotti. He sustained an ankle injury in training earlier this week. And I think he's going to undergo surgery on Monday. But yeah, we're looking at back end of January at the earliest for him to return. On top of that, I've still got Coleman out as well. He's going to be a lot sooner. He's doing individual rehab at the moment, but Ancelotti says they're going to monitor him on a week-to-week basis. So yeah, their first choice full-backs or wing-backs are both out. And a defence that is already struggling for clean sheets sort of further weakens them, I think, going into this weekend.
Yeah, it's not looking good. Just as it was looking good, obviously, like I just said, yeah, it's got bad. So I don't know what to make of Cavalier. And I think in a few weeks people will start looking about getting rid of him. So this will not help, I don't think. So it'll be interesting to see. And also, like, do you think they're going to maybe stick with the wing backs potentially? And because it basically would give themselves an extra experienced defender essentially. So do you think that might happen?
Yeah, I think certainly until Coleman's back, I think that might happen. Ancelotti was asked about this actually this afternoon, and he said 3 centre backs is an option, certainly for now. Highlighted the fact that they've gotten Nkunku as one option. Kenny, he said, was available but not 100% at his best, so he might not come in this weekend. And he said that Iwobi, if you're looking at this 4 million budget Everton defender, as I was, he said Iwobi can play on the left and the right as a wing back. So certainly no guarantees that he comes in to replace Digne. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw the 3 centre halves again this weekend.
Yeah, I think Everton fans see Nkunku, isn't it? I think I've got that right. Everton fans seem to rate him quite highly, so I'd be interested to see if he does come. He's only 4 million, so could be another option. But I think Iwobi was really good. It was only Fulham, I guess, but I think he was really good when he got put to right wing back. So we'll have to see what happens there. Let's go to West Ham. I mean, this Antonio injury feels like one that's going to go on and on and on. And it's not someone that we should be looking to get in until we've seen him play again. Is there any chance he's back this weekend?
I think it's pretty much the same update as Moyes gave last weekend when he said he was closer to a return and back in training, but he wouldn't give a definitive answer as to whether he was available for selection or not. And it's the same again today. He just said that he's been in training over the last couple of days and they're going to see how he is. I think this is the Monday night game, isn't it? So at least you've got a bit of extra time, but it's I think there's like a 50% flag on FPL. I can't see that moving based on those quotes. And would you be taking a punt on someone who isn't even guaranteed to be in the matchday squad, let alone starting? So yeah, it sounds like it might be another run out for Allaire up front. Even if Antonio does make it, you might think he'd be thrown in from as a substitute first to ease his way back in, because there's a lot of fixtures coming up in December. They obviously want to get him right for that.
Yeah, I've been eager to get this guy in my team all season. Obviously, first lot of fixtures were bad. Then he got injured, and I'm even looking ahead now. When the fixtures turn again, it's around Boxing Day, so there's like 2 matches in quick succession. So with his injury record and how he is this season, it's just looking like someone that might have to wait till the end before I start looking at him. So yeah, a bit frustrating for anyone that wanted to get him in. He's so cheap as well, which I think is why he's so popular. Let's go to Man City. So interesting. The quotes I saw was that everyone's fit, but then Aguero's not quite fit. So what do you make of that? Do you think Aguero could be missing the next few games, or just get him cameos?
I think he'll be involved in the squad. I think cameos at the very least. He was actually a substitute last weekend. Wasn't used, and then he came on in midweek, I believe. I think I've got that right.
Yeah, Champions League. I think he played about 15 minutes or so.
Yeah. So yeah, Guardiola said that he's not in his best condition. He needs a bit of time to get up to his his full match sharpness. Possibly just cautionary words based on what happened last time when they rushed him back very, very quickly after 3 months out, and then he broke down again. So they're perhaps going to ease him in a bit more gently this time. It does help that they've got Jesus fit and available, and they've played with Torres and Sterling as false nines in the past. So there isn't really a need to rush him back, especially given the magnitude of the fixtures with the no offences meant to Fulham and Burnley. But I wouldn't be surprised to see him get, maybe not this weekend, but certainly get like a 50, 60 minutes, maybe in game week 11. They've got it's not a dead rubber yet, the match against Porto next week, and they've got to just get a draw on that to ensure top spot, or certainly a result anyway. And he might not be used in that either. But yeah, certainly at the moment, if you were looking at taking a punt on him for this favourable fixture run ahead, those words I think would be enough to put me off getting him in just for now, I think.
Yeah, definitely put me off Aguero. The fact that you think there's, obviously I know you're just guessing like everyone else. Like I think it probably could happen. The fact you've said maybe next week he gets 60 minutes puts me off getting Jesus, because that's who I'm interested in. I think anytime one of them's injured, the other one suddenly becomes a massive option. I was looking at Jesus' minutes. It's not even like lockdown last year. Obviously, it's a bit different because, earlier this year I should say. Because they were trying to manage him and they hadn't really had too many minutes before then. But he's actually played 90 every game that he's played. He's only played 3 games in the league, but he's played 90 every time. So if Aguero is a concern, they're not necessarily managing Jesus' minutes. It was tough games against Liverpool and Spurs, so maybe that's got something to do with it potentially. But yeah, I think if you really wanted a punt, I think punt on the fact Aguero might get 2 cameos next 2 games and go for Jesus. I just don't know if I'm brave enough to do it myself. So I'll let someone else do it and then tell me how good it was later on. Let's move on to Liverpool. They got loads of injuries. Obviously, we know the long-term ones in defence. Are any of their kind of midfielders or Trent Alexander-Arnold looking like they're going to be back anytime soon?
Unfortunately, we didn't hear much about any of them other than Henderson. It was a very, very short press conference from Klopp. There will be some embargoed quotes coming out, I think, either later tonight or tomorrow, which is useless for us, of course, because the deadline's at 6:30 this evening. He did mention Henderson's been back in training. He's been doing both individual work and joining in with the rest of the team. Stopped short of declaring him fit to play, but said they would see how he is ahead of the weekend. But yeah, the rest of them, no mention of Alexander-Arnold, Thiago, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Shaqiri, Keita. We know Gomez and Van Dijk are out long term. I saw the Echo reporting that they didn't think Alexander-Arnold or Keita was going to be back for this, or Thiago. So yeah, given that there was less than 72 hours between their Champions League game and this match at Brighton, it would be a swift turnaround for any of those aforementioned players to come back. And Klopp said in the past about them needing not just 1 or 2 training sessions, they need a succession of them before he's considered for a first team return. So yeah, I think maybe of the walking wounded, it's probably only Henderson who's got a chance of coming back, unless Klopp's keeping something to himself. But yeah, don't think there's any fresh injury news from midweek.
Yeah, he kind of mentioned the rest. Like, if it said something like, "If you ask me what the team would be now, I don't know because I need to wait and see who's available." Like, do you think there is potential for some rotation there? Because for me, it just sounds like he's taken every opportunity to moan about the schedule, and that they'll probably be fine.
I think that's more it. Yeah, having said that, firstly, I should say that he did mention that he has to consult with the medical department. So there is the possibility that there is an injury that hasn't been declared yet, but we didn't see anything every week, I don't think. Didn't see anybody visibly struggling. Secondly, I should say that it's around about this time of year where Klopp does tend to rotate. He's usually a very, very picks a settled side in the first 3 months of a season, with the exception of maybe central midfield. Traditionally, when we're heading to December, particularly in the first round of games for some reason, where there's 3 games weeks in a week, I think's happening in mid-December. In the past, he's rotated quite heavily then. I think Alexander-Arnold, Robertson, Salah, Mane have all had benches in the past. Doesn't mean it will happen this season, of course, but they still have to ensure their qualification to the Champions League, so they haven't got dead rubbers in that. So there is, I think, a risk in the coming weeks of maybe a benching or 2. The lack of central midfielders may mean that he has to play all of his big guns up top anyway this week. I think if I had to pick one, it would be most at risk. And I think there's a lot of noise on social media about this as well. It would probably be Mane.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Yeah, Jota and Firmino were benched in midweek against Atlanta. Salah came off after an hour. Mane lasted the full game and looked maybe a little bit off it, perhaps tired. I don't know, but he's obviously been away on international duty as well. Played last weekend. So if I had to say anybody was a bit at risk, it would be him. But maybe the saving grace this time would be just the paucity of options in central midfield that would make Klopp go with a 4-2-3-1. But then again, of course, he's got Minamino who could come in and do a job across a number of positions. So yeah, we are getting to squeaky bum time when it comes to Klopp's team sheets.
Yeah, it's hard to call. And the fact that he can play now 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 and Jota can play in all of those positions across the front three, it does make it a bit more difficult. I was just looking there. Mane's basically, apart from when he tested positive, he's played 90 minutes. He's played 90 minutes every game in the league apart from Leicester where it was 89. And then he's pretty much played every game outside of that. It was a little bit frustrating they didn't beat Atalanta, to be honest, because I felt like after beating them 5-0, they'd win that and wrap up. I mean, they should still go through relatively easy, you'd imagine, but yeah, there could be a rest. We'll have to wait and see. Let's go on to Man United. So I don't know if you've heard the actual full conference, but did it sound like Rashford actually, in particular, has an issue? Because I know we got positive news, not positive, but we got proper news on Pogba and McTominay, but the rest, I don't know, it was a bit wishy-washy, was it?
Yeah, this is something that's become a bit of a characteristic of Solskjaer in his press comments. He's not frank with the news. So Pogba and McTominay haven't trained today, so they're very unlikely to play, according to Solskjaer. Lindelof and Wan-Bissaka, we knew about them coming off with problems on Tuesday, but obviously Rashford's been grouped in with that as well. I'm not sure what the issue is. I mean, he had the shoulder thing before game week 9. I'm not sure if it's just a recurrence of that. I'll watch Solskjaer's presser later on in its entirety, but I think they've all been training this morning. So Solskjaer said that I think Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka and Rashford have all been on the training ground at least. So it may just be one of those smoke screens that Solskjaer puts up when he's trying to hoodwink the opposition manager every game week, and he may be fine. But yeah, there's a flag on him now anyway, so that's all we really know, unfortunately.
Frustrating as a Rashford owner, but all right, we'll have to wait and see. I thought I was quite confident last week they would play, maybe not so much this week, but we'll have to see. Let's go on to Spurs, who I don't think they've really got many worries, have they? Not at least not to the major players. I think they're looking pretty good. Obviously, sitting right up there in the league as well.
Yeah, not serious injuries. We knew Alderweireld's out. He's out for 2 to 4 weeks, so that's a significant loss at the heart of defence because he's got a good understanding with Dyer going on. Lamela, we don't think he's going to be back. Mourinho said he'll be very, very surprised if he is declared fit to play. Now, they had 3 new... I've seen 3 new flags appear on Spurs players this lunchtime as a result of embargoed quotes from Mourinho last night. But none of them are particularly serious, and it sounds like all 3 of them could have been involved against Ludogorets if needed. So it was Lloris, Bergwijn, and Lo Celso all missing from that match on Thursday night. But Mourinho seems pretty confident them all recovering. And as I said, he said if he wanted to take a risk, he could have with some of them. So I think they'll be fine. Lloris certainly be back between the posts, and Bergwijn, although there's a lot of competition for that one remaining wing slot, maybe has the upper hand at the moment because he played decent against City last weekend. And of course, Bill and Lucas got extended run-outs on Thursday night.
Yeah, I completely forgot about Alderweireld. That is actually quite a big miss for them, but I don't think many people are targeting Spurs defence anyway, apart from me with Reguilon. So, and that looks to be a mistake. So yeah, no, I think Kane and Son looking just as good as ever. Bergwijn, I think, actually played really well on his debut against City as well. Maybe City's just a good game for him. Let's talk about Chelsea, or moreover, let's just talk about Pulisic again, because again, he's a bit like Antonio every single week. But still not fit, right? Or still not ready to start, I think was the quote.
Yeah, that's it. Spot on. Yeah, he's fit, so he's been declared fit to play for by Lampard this afternoon. But he said that ready to start is a question mark. Those were his words. They've still got to gauge match fitness. He says that with the situation the way it is with COVID, that they're not able to mix bubbles with the academy teams and stuff like that. So they're limited as to how much match practice they can get Pulisic before he's thrown back into the fray. I think what we'll see this weekend is what most people would guess a bench role and maybe a cameo appearance at the end of the match. But I don't think he's going to be threatening a start this weekend. Certainly not against Spurs, based on those comments.
Yeah, definitely not. And everyone else is kind of fit, right? I think Havertz is back as well. No other news, I think, right?
Yeah, I was surprised actually. I looked at Chelsea's on our injury database, and haven't got a single entry. I think everyone's back.
Lucky them. All right, let's go to Wolves, who we saw play at back 4 in game week 9, which I think I heard that's the only time Nuno has ever done it since he's been manager at Wolves, which is absolutely crazy. I guess it just shows how big a deal Cody is for him. But he's back now, right? So I assume we're thinking back 5 straight away this week, right?
Yeah, Cody's back, so he's finished his spell in self-isolation. Seiss is still out, though. He's still got, I think, another couple of days to go. If his own spell in self-isolation after being testing positive for coronavirus, and he'll be tested again on Monday, according to Santa, or certainly early next week. So he could be back for game week 11, but not necessarily guaranteed to play, I suppose. So yeah, we saw the back 4, as well as Cody and Seiss being out. I think Dunker was played in midfield. I think maybe Santos learnt his lesson about playing Moutinho and Neves as a 2 now in central midfield, so possibly didn't want to leave them alone without Dendonker's presence. So yeah, it moved to a back 2, a central defensive 2 against Southampton with Kilman and Bolly. But Cody will come back in whatever will happen, I think, even if it is still a back 4, because he's as Neale as Bolly is, and it's just whether he sticks with that really unusual formation that we've never seen before during his time at Wolves, or whether he's back to the 3-4-3 or the 3-4-1-2, however you want to see it, with Kilman as a side at centre half. So it'll be interesting to see what he does, because they got a lot of attacking joy. I think they racked up a lot of chances. McCarthy pulled off a lot of saves, perhaps though at the expense of their own defensive solidity, because I thought there was a few moments that were a little bit shaky, and Nuno seems to be defence first ever since that mauling at West Ham. So yeah, we'll see what he does, but yeah, whatever happens, Cody will be back in. I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah, I think got to be confident of a clean sheet this week, despite what everyone says in the chat. I don't hate Arsenal at all. I just think at the moment, as it stands, they're not a very attacking team. And in fact, this actually might be one of the most boring games of the week, I think, Arsenal versus Wolves, because neither really great going into attack. Maybe I had that wrong. Hopefully it's a 3-3 draw, because I'll probably be watching it. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So there you go. There's your Arsenal comment from the chat. Let's go to your boys, Newcastle. They get one first 11 player back and then lose another one by the looks of it, right? I think St. Maximin is out. Is that correct?
It looks that way, yeah. Newcastle haven't confirmed this, because this has just been leaked by, I think, Craig Hope of Sportsmail this afternoon. He says that St. Maximin pulled up with a muscle injury in training. Apparently, he was going to be benched anyway due to his awful displays in recent weeks. The classic post-contract signing performances.
Did Bruce say that, did he? Did he say he was going to be benched anyway?
No, he didn't, but apparently it's come out.
Okay.
The usual training ground source, whoever that might be, has alleged that St. Maximin was going to be dropped anyway, but he's picked up a muscle injury regardless. At least that seems to be the consensus amongst the Newcastle media. And so him and Carroll is another one who's picked up an injury. He'll miss out. Richie and Shelby are back. Fraser's still out. But the main news, as you said there, is Wilson, who's been declared available for selection. He was apparently close last week, but they didn't want to risk him. So he's back. I mean, if there's no lingering doubts about his fitness, he'll be straight back up front. Lascelles should be fine. He had, I think, a thigh problem, but he was pictured training in midweek. Bruce did say that they've got 1 or 2 self-isolating with COVID. Didn't name who they were, but I turned to detective and had a look through Newcastle's training ground photos, and the only 2 I couldn't spot, aside from Carroll, who's subsequently been revealed to have a calf problem, were Hayden and Crowell. I wonder if it's them 2, but that's just my own. Not being seen in a training ground photo doesn't necessarily mean you're not unavailable. So it's my own detective work there.
So it's all we got to go on. Anyone that's, I mean, obviously they're not really FPL assets, but I guess it does affect the team overall. Wilson's looking good, actually. I think for the next kind of 5 game weeks, is about as good as it's going to get for Newcastle. So if they're ever going to go full on attacking and score a bunch of goals, it's probably the next 5. Crystal Palace away is probably not the best start, I guess, but after that it's Villa, West Brom, Leeds, Fulham. So if you're ever going to think about getting on Callum Wilson or keeping him, this could be the game week to do it. So good news for Newcastle that he's back on penalties too, of course. Let's move on to Fulham. Not great at passing it out from the back, as we've seen. Also not great at taking penalties either. But how are they looking from an injury standpoint?
Very quiet on injury news fronts. Nothing new. Tetty is still out, and we're assuming Congolo still is. I think he's even longer term than him. I think Kamara's back from suspension this weekend, but I doubt maybe that will be challenging for a start. Yeah, there was a bit of discussion about the penalty taking situation. I think they missed the last 3, and Parker seems unsure himself he was going to take the next one. It's more of a case of who's going to feel confident before any given game week. So it does seem like they haven't got a set and forget first choice spot kick taker at the moment.
Not good when everyone's missing so much. Maybe they're just all not confident. It's probably not what you want to step up and do when there's been like 3 different players missing in a row.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Burnley actually. Should have probably put them higher up. So hopefully you can clear up some confusion for myself and what I've seen being talked about. That it sounded like Nick Pope was out, but actually he's not guaranteed to be out. Is that right? There's just a chance that he misses the game, I think.
Yeah, there's in the same sentence, Dice said he was unavailable and then has a chance. So I didn't want to read into that. He took a knock to the head against Palace and had stitches. So and I think Dice said right at the end of that press conference yesterday that he couldn't remember who he was or didn't know where he was. So I wonder if that's concussion. Dice didn't use concussion at all when describing his problem. Just said it was a knock to the head. So if it was concussion, then he would be out, I think, because that's the 60-day protocol. And Dyche even said himself that he might have to make the decision over the doctor. So he seemed to be pointing us in the direction of Pope not playing without categorically ruling him out. He was discussing Peacock foul at length. So we can only go on his very mixed messages that he sent out, but he's certainly a significant doubt either way. Same with Brady and Stevens; they're unlikely to feature, and Coke remains out as well. But I think that's it. Yeah, Pope will obviously be the main talking point from that game because obviously historically being a high performing keeper in terms of save percentage and XGP and stuff like that. So good for City perhaps without wanting to disparage Peacock Farrell too much.
Yeah, I think this is the most interesting game of the weekend because there's a lot of people obviously on City assets not necessarily that confident. There's a bunch of people saying they're not worth it, and I think this game could change people's minds with Fulham up next. But also Burnley defensive stats have looked really good so far this season, and City usually their attack would win out, but they're worse than Man United. Well, I don't want to get into that conversation, but XG wise, they're worse than Man United so far this season. I'll just say that no more before I get lynched. All right, how about Brighton? Trossard's been one of the main guys missing out. Is he likely to be back this week?
He's available for selection anyway. Whether he goes straight in, not too sure. Lallana's a doubt with a groin problem. Potter said he needs a bit more time before they make a decision on him. So this was, the press conference was yesterday. The game's on Saturday, so maybe by now they know for certain. Trossard and Propper are back. Lamptey's out, as everyone will know. He got sent off for 2 bookings last weekend, so it's just a 1-match ban. He'll be back in game week 11. So it's just how they shape things in his absence because they haven't really got a like for like replacement for him. The sort of the all action wing back. So there might be a slight reshuffle this weekend, but Trossard backs the main bit of good news from their perspective anyway.
Yeah, good news for them, although bad news, they have to play Liverpool this week, so that is definitely going to be a tough game, I would say. How about Leeds? Have they got any major doubts there? I think they still got the same trio missing, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly the same. Shackleton, Hernandez and Llorente are still out, and nothing new from Bielsa yesterday.
Good stuff. Southampton, Danny Ings back soon, maybe?
He is, yeah. Maybe sooner than we thought, although not like ridiculously early. So I don't think they'll be rushing him or anything. He's back in individual rehab, doing individual training, and Hasenhüttl said today that he could be back for game week 11. So this Brighton match was moved to the Monday night in that set of fixtures, which gives Ings an extra couple of days. And Hasenhüttl said he's a possibility for that game. So it could be back. Could be back for that, but he'll definitely be out this weekend anyway. Same with Redmond. He's got a hamstring problem. I think a week to 10 days or so, the prognosis. So again, could be back for the Brighton match. But it's one of the most settled sides in the division at the minute anyway, so I wouldn't be expecting too many changes.
Yep, cool. Be good to have him back. Leicester, how are they looking? Looks like Justin is probably still going to be okay for another few game weeks, which is good because of the fixtures, right?
Yeah, Leicester and Villa. We won't hear from Rodgers or Smith ahead of the deadline, unfortunately. Their press conference is going to be held tomorrow on Saturday, which is annoying because we're in the dark about any injury updates, one of which would be Castagna. He was meant to be back last week, but suffered a slight recurrence of this hamstring problem, wasn't risked against Liverpool, and didn't play against Braga on Thursday. Rodgers said that they'll be monitoring him over the course of the week and then seeing where he is before Monday's game. So still an element of doubt there. In his pre-Europa League press conference, he'd said that indeed he was targeted next week as a return. Sancho was a bit further behind, and Ricardo Pereira was 2 to 3 weeks away in terms of match fitness. They want to give him some under-23s games. So unless he's gone back in his word, then Justin should be fine for now. And that might see him through, hopefully, to the end of their good fixture run, which I think is game week 12 or so.
Yeah.
And then maybe people can ship him out beyond that. But yeah, apart from that, I don't think there's anything fresh picked up on Thursday. But again, we won't hear from Rodgers until Saturday.
Yeah, anyone that's picked up James Justin early on is looking great. He got some points early on. He's easy to bench because he was only 4.5. And now he's going to get the rest of their good games. Like you say, I think game week 12 is Brighton, and then it's Everton after that, and then the fixtures kind of turn. So it wouldn't be the worst thing to have to move him on. And plus, you made some money on him. So fair play for anyone that was on him from game week 1. Let's just wrap up the rest. There's not too many more to go. So West Brom, anything major there?
Fields lacking match fitness. Gibbs and Livermore have tested negative for COVID now, so they're theoretically fit. But Bilic said one of them was still feeling a bit rough and didn't say who it was. So,
good.
And on that basis, they're both flagged still. If it's Gibbs, he was only a backup left back anyway, and if it's Livermore, slightly different because I think he would come straight in for Sawyers. But nothing new anyway.
Well, talking about managers not giving away too much, what about Chris Wilder at Sheffield United? Because he's done something similar, hasn't he?
Yeah. So Stevens, he mentioned Stevens by name. He said he's still a doubt. They're going to give him every chance to be fit. But did say that one other player was touch and go and wouldn't reveal who it was. What we do know, we do know that Ampadu came off last weekend with a problem. So it could be him. And I think the only other thing he mentioned was that Moussier was back. I think it was just a matter of match fitness for him and when, not if. So he could be further swelling that forward pool. I think that's about 6 strong now, the number of strikers they've got to call upon.
And they still can't score. They still can't score anyway.
1 goal from open player this season, I think it is, which is ludicrous. They've got 6 strikers to choose from, so maybe they'll try and settle on the right combination over Christmas. But yeah, a mystery man is a doubt for Sheffield United.
Yeah, they're potentially in trouble. I think their only saving grace for them is they still don't let. They might not be keeping any clean sheets, but they still don't let many goals in. So if they could just find some goals from somewhere, it's quite interesting actually. On match there, I think the first one we did in game week 1, Seb was on. And he put Sheffield United down as someone risk from relegation this year. So I'd be interested to see if that comes through. Because at the time I thought it was crazy. I definitely thought they would go down a little bit in the table, but not to relegation. So they're in trouble, but plenty more of the season to go. So I think there's literally just 2 teams left now. Crystal Palace and then Arsenal. So any major news? Zaha's missing again, I think, right?
Yeah, Zaha's out. He will be... I think getting another test on Monday, so he could be back for game week 11, but he was not going to feature tonight against Newcastle. Milivojevic isn't either. He's actually back training, I think, after his spell in self-isolation, but he's suspended anyway, so he can't play. And then apart from that, it's just the 3 long-termers who remain out. So that's Hennessy, Wickham, and Ferguson, who we still haven't seen yet in a Palace shirt.
And Arsenal, I think that's it.
Arsenal, Arteta was due to give his press conference this morning, but they got stuck in Norway because of fog. So we haven't heard from him yet. I think it's just filtering through now. I think some of the comments, but I think there's very little information so far. Pepe is banned, of course. The last injury update Arsenal gave, which was on Wednesday, I think, Partey was still undergoing rehab for this thigh problem. So Be surprised if he's nearing a return. Luis was taken off as a precaution on Thursday night, and Willian missed out with a minor problem as well. So we might not, again, a bit like Rodgers and Smith, we might not get any definitive bulletin from the medical staff until Saturday, because I think their game's on Sunday against Wolves. So they'll remain flagged for now. But it was a much changed team on Thursday night, so most of the big guns were rested anyway.
Good stuff. All right, I think we'll leave it there. Someone saying the hate is real. Arsenal were last. The only reason Arsenal were last is because we didn't have a press conference, so I didn't have an image for them, so they get put to the bottom. It always happens. If you go back and watch the rest of them, you'll see the same thing happens every time. No hate for Arsenal here. Love how bad they are right now. Neale, sorry, I should say, as there will be the team news article later on. What time is that coming out earlier today, or is it still at around 5 o'clock?
Yeah, well, it'll be near and 5. Hopefully, you get it out around about 4:30, 4:45. But it'll be around about the usual time.
Good stuff. So yeah, just in case there's anything additional there, obviously we'll put it on Twitter as well, FF Scouts, so make sure you check that out. Hit the like button on this stream and subscribe if you're new around here. We're back next week for loads more content. Neale, thanks very much for all that info today.
Thanks, Andy. Good luck, everybody.
Yeah, good luck, everyone. We will see you soon. And just remember, deadline is 6:30 today, so you've got just under 3.5 hours. So make sure you get decisions in. And good luck.